Good morning, good morning, good morning, and Happy New Year to everyone. It's me, Brenda Perryman, bringing you the Brenda Perryman Show, and directly after that show, Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. It's going to be a great year. Promise yourself that 2016 you're going to do some things that you were apprehensive about doing before. Just try, life is short. Everybody doesn't wake up every day. You know that. So do what you can. I am very excited about my show today because I have two gentlemen. One, a young gentleman, and one, a little older gentleman. But both of them have great promise and great insight. And this young man, I have Drake Pfeiffer on my second set. And then this first set, I have Ian Solomon. And Ian is a freshman at University of Arizona.
Arizona State.
Arizona State. I knew it was out there. I knew it was out there. But he's also the son of Dr. Rose Moten, who is, of course, one of our co hosts on Table Talk and a very, very knowledgeable woman. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. You know why I'm great? I'm great because we haven't had a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Ice is my enemy.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of the cold. Definitely coming from Arizona.
Ha 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 ha. That's real funny, Ian. The weather. How's the weather out there?
It's beautiful. It was actually a little colder than it was supposed to be this year, but the week I
And when
left,
you
it was
say colder, what do you mean?
it would drop into the lower 60s sometimes.
Oh wow! Oh, let me get my violin out and play a song. Play a song. So, Ian is here today because I wanted to talk to him about a few things. I wanted to get his perspective, of course, and about being a young man of 18
hmm
and what is the difference between now and then 40 and 50 years ago being a black young man at 18? Because I see so many similarities to things that are happening now. But let's get some background on Ian. You just graduated, right?
Yep. Graduated from the Roper School in June, I believe. Yep.
You
So,
believe?
yep. Yeah, it was
It's usually that. It's I graduated in June too on my birthday.
June. Really.
So I'll always remember my graduation day, but I'll also remember the fact that it's almost 50 years since I know. But anyway, so you graduated in June and you went out to Arizona. I mean, why did you want to go to Arizona State?
Well, at first I just knew that I wanted to get out of Michigan for college. I just kind of stumbled upon Arizona State, and then I decided I wanted to go into broadcast journalism, and they actually have the best broadcast journalism program there is, so it just seemed like a good fit, and I loved the campus when I visited, so it all worked
Wow.
out.
Wow. So what made you want to go into journalism though?
I think I've always wanted to share my voice, I guess. I've always liked public speaking to a certain degree. I've always liked, sharing my opinion with a lot of people. So it kind of made sense to go into
So
journalism.
basically, too, you're a communicator.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you are a communicator, and one thing I admire about you, I admire this a great deal, is the fact that though you're a young person, but you're not afraid to speak your mind. Has ever you speaking your mind got you into trouble?
With my mom, definitely. Probably sometimes in school a little bit, although I did go to a pretty liberal,
Right.
private school, so they kind of encouraged speaking your mind. But I guess most of the time it was at home where I would get in trouble.
Mainly at home. So you do have a filter when it comes to
Yeah.
other people and being out there. So, Arizona, did you kind of meld with the school and everything? Did you feel once you got out there because you're living out there now, basically?
Yeah. It was an interesting adjustment period. A lot of things became aware to me, just the different type of social dynamic that it is down there. And
What do you mean?
Just in like a college sense, I guess. I'm not sure if it's different for anyone else. Just I don't know. It was just different, I guess. Just mixing with people, especially races. Like that was different for me.
What do you mean,
Uh,
racist? Because you did go to a multiracial school
yeah,
in
absolutely.
high school.
And while it wasn't extremely diverse, my high school, I mean, there were definitely different types of people, but it wasn't extremely diverse. But I guess I knew everyone well enough where it wasn't really obvious that, of who I was around.
Right.
But going to a predominantly white institution, you definitely see the social dynamics between the white and black student body and see that it's extremely segregated in that sense almost.
Oh,
And that kind of threw me
at
off.
Arizona State?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay. So, what did you notice specifically? Some things.
Just basically that pretty much the majority of the black crowd stuck with the black crowd, and then there was the rest of the people, and that kind of threw me off because I was always used to, everybody talking together for the most part, and I didn't really understand that for the first couple weeks. I was just like, I don't really see people mixing together, and it's almost like when you do mix with people, you get looks. You know what I'm saying? So
You get
you get
looks.
looks from people when you mix. So that was definitely an adjustment because
You know,
I didn't think about
that's
that.
funny you say so. I remember when I started Eastern Michigan, um, the first night we were in the dorms, and the first night these guys came walking through. They were Kappas, and
Hmm.
we're having a party at the such and such. And so you go to the parties, everybody's black and so forth. And I came from a school that was like half and half,
Right.
high school. And then you started noticing in the union, the union, student union, all the black folks sat over here and then everybody else,
Yep.
and that kind of tripped me out.
Hmm.
And to hear these many years later, they're doing the same thing,
It's still very real, definitely.
but that hasn't stopped you from acquiring friends of all different kinds of
No, not at all. I mean,
ethnicities.
once I kind of caught on to it, you kind of know how to work it a little better. You understand exactly how everything flows together. So I definitely do have friends of different ethnicities and everything. It was just the start of it, I guess, tripped me up.
Oh, okay, but you got it.
I got it smoothed
I know, I
out.
know Ian. He handles things. He knows how to gauge the situation and go on from there. And that way, you kind of get it your way.
um, Sometimes, not all the time, but definitely a lot of the time, I guess I do. You got to feel things out, I guess, and that
Yeah.
was pretty much the first couple weeks of my semester was doing that.
Oh wow. Well, that's good. So, how have you acclimated to the entire thing now?
Now I'd say I'm pretty adjusted now. The last month was definitely just me really getting set in it, I guess. School got harder and, you just meet more people all the time. But now I feel like I'm very comfortable
How
there.
many credits did you take?
16.
Great,
Yeah.
great, 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 great. You're online to graduate on time. No,
Oh, yeah.
but sometimes it takes an extra semester.
Hmm.
Sometimes. So you're going to be going to the Walter Cronkite.
School of journalism, yep.
That is just fabulous.
Thank you.
That is so fabulous.
Hmm.
Don't you welcome that challenge?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think you can handle it. Ian, you write quite a bit, don't you? Or you
Yeah.
did, or
I write a lot of little think piece type little things. Nothing really huge, but
but what are your themes?
definitely social politics. That's basically everything I do. I talk about social politics, Black Lives Matter, all of those.
Okay, let's talk about social politics for a minute. What have you blogged about as far as give us some examples, just examples.
Well, whenever there's really a major event or anything that seems like there should be an opinion on it, I usually would write a Facebook post or on my Twitter, I'll write a string of tweets or really anywhere. It basically just all depends on the current events or what's happening, or maybe it's even something that I stumbled upon on the internet and I just wanted to give a little information about it or my
Well,
opinion.
being a young black man, have you ever been stopped by the police?
Absolutely. I got stopped outside of my house.
Why don't you tell our audience about that? It
Well,
wasn't funny at the
it
time,
wasn't it
was
wasn't
it?
funny at the time. Well, I was just sitting in my car because I had just gotten back from basketball practice, and what I figured out was a cop pulled up behind me. You know, they had the very bright lights. He pulls up and he goes, "Well, there's been reports of someone trying to break into houses." And what I found out was that the criteria was a silver car, which I did have a silver car, but he said that there were two people with me. And I go, "Well, officer, I'm by myself, and you can see in my passenger seat that all my basketball stuff in there, and there's no one with me." And he called for backup, continued to ask me, "Oh, you're sure no one was with you?" And, I was just like, "Yeah, like, this is my house right here. I can go punch in the garage code if need be." Long story short, I eventually got to call my mom, and she came outside and settled it. But yeah, definitely, it definitely threw me off a little bit, being stopped outside my own house.
So from there, after that happened, what did you come to any more realizations?
Absolutely. It was just around the time of Mike Brown, I believe,
Yeah.
and so that was happening, and I was just kind of becoming a lot more aware of police racial things. So all of that at the same time really threw me off a little bit, made me think about things.
And so did you take any, did you become, you said you became more aware, but did you start looking around you more, being more careful about
Oh,
different
absolutely.
things?
Um, I've always had, certain things that I do just because my parents taught me to do them. Take off your hood whenever you walk somewhere, and you know,
Oh.
you
Isn't
know,
that a shame?
yeah,
Isn't that a dang shame?
yeah,
You gotta take off your hood. I'm gonna put on a hoodie and I'm gonna walk around like this. I mean, oh wow.
yeah. And I've always been aware of those things, but I guess now it's definitely on my mind more. It's definitely something that's in the back of my head that's more prevalent than it was before. While I always did those things, I just didn't think about them much. I wasn't exactly looking around as much as I am now.
Okay, you're out in Arizona now, and you have a bike.
Yes.
I know about the bike. You have a bike, and I mean, I think you feel free to be you and me.
hmm
And do you notice any things that are happening out there, or any instances of, I'm not necessarily had to do with you, but
hmm
of how's the racial issues out there? Are there any?
Well, I can speak for ASU. I do know that Arizona as a state is very conservative and
Right.
very, very white. So, there's a lot of issues within that, but I haven't really been able to see that. But within Arizona state, we do have kind of on the low side of a black population. I think we're around 5%. I know that they've been trying to get to 10% for a while, but efforts haven't really worked out. But with the students, I do hear things a lot.
What you mean?
You hear just microaggressions, or you hear someone say the N word, not
Oh,
directed towards you, but you hear them
you
say it,
hear it.
or you hear just
How
people
do you
say
feel when you
things.
hear that? And it's coming from a white person, right?
It throws me off for sure. It surprises me, I guess, because you would just think in this day and age, it wouldn't. People wouldn't
Yeah.
still think that's
Yeah, but
okay, but
people, I've been to rap concerts. I mean, I have. You never know where
hmm
I've been. But, I see, and mostly a lot of white people are at those
hmm
concerts. And, hip hop is like the biggest seller in the world.
right,
But they're using the term, the N word, because
right.
it's in the songs. So, do you think that that makes them feel they have license to do that?
I think yes, that does make them feel that way.
So, I mean, what are you gonna do if the rappers, black rappers, continue to do that and use that? I mean, you're going to tell them what? I mean, if the white people do it, well, what can you say?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to not try and shift it to a like. I feel like that's something that the rappers can say.
You do?
I do feel like it is something that they can say.
Why?
Well, with the whole should people use the N word debate, I'm on the side that basically I don't think we owe anyone an explanation in that sense. I don't think that we should have to limit ourselves for the for the comfortability of someone else, because when it comes down to it, when people say, "Oh, we shouldn't say the N word," it's basically because then other people will say the N word. So why should I have to stop doing something that I'm doing so that they can't, so that they stop doing it? They can stop
So,
doing it themselves.
so what does that word mean to you?
That's why I've been thinking about that lately. I'm not exactly sure what it means to me. In most of my life, it's thrown around in with, as like almost like a term of endearment, like "Hey, what's up, dude," or
My,
something. Yeah,
you
it's
know,
something like that. So,
yeah, but
it's
if what if a white guy comes up to you, how you doing, my,
I'd stop him in his tracks.
See,
Like,
see, see. But in one case, you're saying it's almost okay because, well, it's out there. But
well, in that case, I'm not his N
I
word.
know.
We don't go through the same struggles every day. He wasn't stopped outside of his house
Right,
trying to
right,
break
right,
in.
right.
So I feel like it's kind of this acknowledgement that we do go through the same struggles. It's almost like a community type thing. And when you don't go through those struggles, when you don't have you don't have the same experience of life that I do, it's a different
Well, that term
sensation.
isn't always a term of endearment.
No, not
I
at all.
mean, even within our community, it isn't always, it's not totally accepted as a term of endearment. And I think that this debate or conversation is going to go on for a long
Hmm.
time. It's like people are saying, well, they do it. It's just almost like, oh man, this just came to my light. It's almost like when we talk about crime, black on black crime, people start saying, well, white people kill white people all the time. It's
Hmm.
always this tit for tat.
Hmm.
But it's not the, just because one person does it doesn't mean everybody has to do it.
Right.
And the same thing with the N word. I understand what you mean. I'm just trying to stir the pot
Hmm.
a little bit because that is a debate, and that's a debate that's been going on quite a while. If our rappers, black people say it, I mean, and they put it out there in public, why couldn't other people say it? In fact, this one rapper, I think it's Tom Hanks' son.
I've never heard
Tom
of.
Hanks' son. I forgot his rap name. He has a rap name. Maybe Delisa could look it up for me. But he has a rap. He's a white rapper
Hmm.
or wannabe, and I think he used the N word. And it was like, it's cool because this is what I do. I'm a rap. I'm a rapper and so forth. But it's not. You don't think it's cool for white rappers to use that term?
Um, no, I don't think it is. Just like I said before, I think it really has to deal with a lot of other things, a lot of shared factors between people, between black people. So they don't really, regardless of if you're rapping or not, you're not going to have the same experience of a black rapper. And so it's kind of, you know,
Well, the saga is going to continue because it's interesting how Ian looks at it because a lot of young people look at it like that. And then I've talked to young people who said, golly, you could have the song without saying it. I mean, you could have the rap without saying it too.
absolutely.
You can. I mean, people, the value of words, and I used to teach drama, and I still kind of do, but in improvisations, the students would ask, Miss Pearman, can I cuss in this one because it'll have more impact?
Hmm.
I said, you can tell a person off without cussing. Just bring out some other things and words, and I mean,
Hmm.
get people to think. You don't have to do. It's like you don't have to do that. But along with that, let's kind of get into Black Lives Matter. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a great organization. I think that it's a necessary organization. I think that it's extremely misunderstood as kind of a almost down with white people type of organization, which it isn't at all. But I think that's how it's taken a lot of times, and I think that's why there's a lot of controversy around it.
Really,
Hmm.
down with white people.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people mix up a lot of things with, you know, even with something like feminism, things like that. Like a lot of people look at it as down with men, but like just like with Black Lives Matter, it's not down with men; it's up with women. Black Lives Matter is just up with black people.
We have a call. We have Mr. Johnson on the line. Good morning. Hello? Hello? Oh, hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
The comedian Paul Mooney.
Yes.
He has a thing he does. He says he likes his white people white. He doesn't like them co-opting our culture and styles and all of that kind of stuff. So, but I wanted to say on the N word, its origins are out of Ethiopia. It was spelled Negus, and it referred to as a person of esteem. When the Europeans came over, they took the word and made it a derogatory term. So I think it's important, and this is documented information too, by the way.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's important that those kind of discussions are put out there more, because the word obviously has some magic to it. People cannot stop using it, and I think it's because of the historical link back to Ethiopia. So, the young man, you're a journalist coming up. I would hope that you could spread that information.
Absolutely.
And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Love learning things.
Yeah, yeah. So, with Black Lives Matter, some people say it came onto the scene. When it came onto the scene, it alienated some people. But what I think the term or the people are talking about is the fact that there's unequal treatment of black men or women
Or
too,
women too,
because
yeah.
that Sandra Bland case really took me. So, do you believe that, some people are against it? They act like it is, even black people. I know black people who are say, "Well, we're killing each other's. Why just Black Lives Matter?" In fact, that's one of the table talk topics today.
Well, I think with that, I think a lot of people. I mean, I see it all over the internet all the time, or Twitter, or Facebook. Like you see comments here and there, and I think a lot of people really don't get it. They kind of whenever like you'll see people talk about Black Lives Matter, and it's obviously in like a negative way, like oh those Black Lives Matter people, like this and
But
that.
there are white people in it too.
Exactly.
They're
It's
in it too.
it's not just you know a black club. It's basically just an organization that's talking about the racial injustices that are happening today. So
Right, right, right. But what about the fact that there have been so many things that have happened? Freddie Gray was another heartbreaker where they did this man, or however they beat him, he couldn't stand. I guess they damaged his spinal cord and spinal column and everything. And then, families are getting paid, because of what these police officers are doing, or police departments. And then I think about Chicago. That's not Tamir Rice. We have so many, so many.
yeah.
I mean, so many. But my nephew, who was a New York police officer, he just retired, New York City. He would ask me, "Did you hear about the black officer who killed a black guy?" No.
No, I'm sure. I think that's definitely to build a narrative. Because I think it makes it more, a white versus black thing, which I don't think it necessarily has to be, because I think a lot of people know, especially if you're really in the Black Lives Matter organization, you know that it is black police officers too. It's not just, while race is a big factor, it's also that initial power.
And they have that blue wall that where they're not going to cross it because another officer, black or white, they're not going to cross it because other officers Even black officers won't cross at one another officer. They have this mindset, I
Right.
think. But years ago, I'm talking about 1995, when I go to New York, my nephew, under his police stuff, he had a T-shirt, "Don't kill black men," or something like that. They had formed, the black officers had formed an organization to police the white officers.
Wow.
This was in 1995. A lot of people didn't know about it, but it was because they saw, I think it was, I don't know if Amadou Diallo, he was a black man in New York who was killed. He was beaten to death. It was horrible, horrible. So, would you ever get into a Black Lives Matter march or?
Absolutely. I've definitely I actually look for things like that all the time. I've never actually been near or around a march. I think maybe one time, there was one in Detroit once, but I couldn't go because I had school.
You
But
know, but my thing is, we got to do something else than march. People are so used to marching. When I was back in the day, they we were getting out there marching, but marching was new. Marching is old.
right.
And so I don't think it affects people that much. They may shut down a mall or slow down an airport, but what can we do to the next level to get the attention we need and get legislation?
Anything that'll put a chink in the economy. Anything that
That's,
will
thank
mess
you.
like
Money talks.
anything that'll mess with money. I mean, we saw it with Mizzou and everything.
Right. Oh, yes.
Exactly. You know,
Sports.
it proved exactly what a lot of people had been saying, which is, once you start messing with the money, then people are going to listen, and that's definitely something that I think is true.
Yeah, economically. You have to hurt people economically. Mizzou was interesting and it was different because the coach even took a stand with
Right.
those young men. And my son has been on the show. He was an athlete. He graduated from University of Dayton, and he said it is your job. It's just like a job too. And these athletes, they make the money off the basketball and football. They don't make the money off the tennis program.
Right.
They don't make, yeah, and so many of these schools, they have majority black players, and they're making the money off these people. And sometimes it's more like a slave thing. In
Right.
fact, one coach went in and wanted to change a student's class in because he thought the class was too hard and might interfere with his basketball practices.
Wow.
I mean, what does that tell you? The bottom line, he doesn't care about the student getting an education.
Exactly. I actually, yeah, I hear a lot about that actually. With basically, college football players need a lot. They need to change things in college football for sure, because they basically are, sometimes they end up lacking what they need, which is like an education, and sometimes they'll get injured, maybe their career's over, and
Yes.
that's just it.
Yes.
There's nothing that happens after that. They have no safety net for these players. So it's definitely something that needs to be looked in more, because they're not getting paid. Basically what they're getting from it is usually just an education, and when you're putting the sports in front of that education, what exactly are
And
they
then
getting?
most of the athletes don't get to go pro anyway. You got to
Very
think
few.
about that. You got to come out with something, Ian, we're almost to the end of our interview, but I want to ask you this. You're in the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I just like that so much. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully with some type of communication medium of my own.
Right.
Still talking about the big current event issues. I don't know, just continuing share my opinion on what I think needs to be done in the society.
And do you want to do any investigative journalism? I think that's
Oh,
the
absolutely.
bomb.
I
That's
love.
the bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, I think investigative journalism is definitely something I'm interested in, for
Yeah.
sure. Maybe like documentaries, stuff like that.
Right, right. There's so far, you can go because the field of journalism has changed somewhat because of technology. Isn't that correct?
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to be just an eyewitness to watching your life develop. I'm very excited
Thank you.
about that. No, I am. I'm not yanking your chain or anything, because it's good to see young people with a vision of where they want to be and what they want to do, you know. So, Ian, thank you.
Thank you.
We will see you on Table Talk. He's going to join the adults today because he is so opinionated. And that's why I wanted to get him on this show. And it's good to get a young person's perspective. Ian, I'll see you later, and we'll be back in just a moment with Mr. Drake Pfeiffer.